Welcome to the With Series Potential podcast, where we share our journeys breaking into TradPub, how we're leveling up our craft to get there, and spill all the publishing tea along the way.
Hi, I'm Anna Hirsch, writing horror novels.
I'm Ivy T. Woods. I write romantic fantasy.
And I'm Zilla, writing as RJ Hawthorne, and I am also a horror author.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of the With Series Potential podcast, where we are going to be talking about getting agented. You will notice today that we are your magical time traveling podcast because we had technical issues with the recording of episode 9. So it is now early May, and we are coming at you from the future in our recording thing, but still the past for you. I don't know. Never question time travel. It just gets wibbly wobbly. But it is the beginning of May for us here. So, this episode we are going to be talking about getting agented. The first time we recorded this, it was 3 hours long, so we're going to try to make it a little bit shorter than that this time since we're re-recording.
We just had way too much fun.
We yap, and hopefully you guys enjoy that considering you're still here. Anna, what have you been working on?
I've been working on an outline for my new project. I have drafted around 10K of it, and I'm kind of at the point where I need to get my thoughts together more, so yeah, I'm just trying to wrangle my thoughts into a beat sheet and to figure out what the hell is going on with this new book.
Anna's turning into a plotter.
No.
Anna's turning into a plotter.
No, I've never said that. I always need a beat sheet at some point, but how those beats connect is always a surprise.
That's fair.
So,
I get that.
I will not tolerate such slander.
I don't know. You're a little bit gray for me right now. I got my beta feedback for Sculptor, so shockingly, they told me all the problems with it, just like I wanted them to, and it wasn't
awful.
perfect. So now I'm in the process of fixing those. So I made my new spreadsheet with my new list of things to fix, which is primarily one plot line or kind of relationship between two characters, just smoothing that out, and adding some details, buffing up some POVs, stuff like that. So I'm about 22% done, which is pretty good because I started on Friday and today's Wednesday. So we're cruising for bruising. My slightly unrealistic, but I still hope to hit it goal is to have this edit done into my agent by the end of the month, which would
Oh,
be
wow.
1 month earlier than I was initially predicting.
Amazing.
It's not a lot of edits, is the big thing. Some of them are bigger, but like it's like a lot of stuff in like the act 3 I'm not even gonna have to touch other than like a few things right at the end, so it's not that big of
Well, and you've always
big
said you're a
thing.
faster reviser than you are a drafter, so...
Oh yes, yeah.
You are such a fast editor, it boggles my mind, because I am a slow editor.
I have no loading time is the big thing.
Oh yeah, like I might see feedback and right off the bat think, oh, I know how to solve this, but then it's going to take another like 3 to 5 business weeks for it to actually get through my thick skull.
Yep.
Yeah, it happens. But yeah, I'm a slow drafter, but I edit fast. Even like my agent edits for Undying Summer, I did those in a month. And that was a whole book rewrite. It was less than a month, actually, I think, from the time I got my edit letter.
I did my edits in a month, and it was like a 1-chapter rewrite.
Yeah, it is what it is. Zilla, what have you been working on?
So I've been kind of working on like the business side of authoring. I know I've told you guys, but for our listeners, I'm doing this challenge for myself that I'm calling the Healthy Delusion Challenge. And so like I'm waking up at 5, I'm going for a run. I'm actually making and eating a healthy breakfast, which I have probably never done in my entire life. I'm making sure I read every night. Like just trying to be like that girl. And it's giving me something.
She is the moment.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because who doesn't want to be that girl? But like I want to embody the person that I feel is getting the book deal, who is successful in life, who has a great, balance. So that's really keeping me, or at least keeping my mind busy for now. I am incorporating some word count goals, but they're very small right now. We're just about building habits and just trying to keep everything flexible until I find something that works. So still very early on in like the process, but trying to bring in that business side a little bit more.
I feel like word count goals matter less as you are more you know yourself as writer and you know you're going
Yeah.
to do it. It matters less when you're kind of self-motivated.
Yeah.
I also feel like I used to always, well, I still will set word count goals for myself sometimes, but I used to be a lot more religious about them, and I felt like it resulted in my drafts being kind of bloated and meandering. Versus if I had just been like, okay, no, I don't need to have another 100 words in the next 10 minutes. I can just really think about what I'm writing. So sometimes you need to have the fire to just get through it, but it doesn't always work for me.
I think it's hard because I think maybe for the three of us, especially, like, we want to see progress. And sometimes, like, the best checklist is a word count goal instead of like,
Oh yeah.
I finished an entire beat. Like, that just takes longer. So you want that dopamine of like, I hit 1,000 words or whatever it is.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, and it really depends on the stage you're at. Word count really only matters for like drafting.
Yeah.
I will like motivate myself to say my goal is to finish this scene because I feel like that actually helps me keep my word count down, because instead of thinking about how can I add more words, I'm actually like, okay, problem solving, like what needs to happen in this scene still? How can I get it done in a way that is like, yes, like indulging the parts that you want to like sit in for a while, but it's also economical with words. And it's not just like words for words' sake.
I agree.
Keeping word count down. What a concept.
Especially for fantasy. I do not envy your challenge, Ivy.
And it's just so much more work to edit a book that's longer, too. Like, everything takes longer.
It does. Because of the feedback I've gotten, which is like, I want a little bit more here. I didn't get a lot of things where it's like, cut this. So my word count just keeps going up and up.
But I feel like the cut this can come at your discretion later to be like, all right, what's like the juicy parts to keep and like, where do I want to pare back? Like, you know, that's not the kind of beta feedback I was giving.
No. And even just like on a sentence level, when I go back and I do the whole read through of this, I'm going to be going in with the red pen and be like very judicious with, we don't need this word. We can cut this down. And if you do that through the whole book, especially when it is currently a 105K book and climbing, that does make a difference.
Oh, but you're doing so great, and Kira knows what she's doing. She's not gonna let you send out something that's like 120K when she knows she can't sell it.
No. But like, odds are I'm gonna give it to her and she's gonna be like, okay, I want more of this.
Right. It's like, what do you want less of?
Yeah, so I'm trying to leave myself some wiggle room when I send it to her so that I have at least like 10K to play with before it goes out. Because when I gave it to her for Undying Summer, it went up by 5K. It went from 103 to 108. So it would be really nice to kind of just leave myself that wiggle room to get there. Speaking of our agents, we're going to go into leveling up and we are going to rehash this, but it's been a long time, so hopefully we don't remember too much of what we talked about. Bringing things from edit letters or beta feedback forward to new projects. So, one thing I really focused on was Sculptor, and this was at the end of the draft. I was kind of going through, and what I like to do is I think about what scenes I need to add before I'm in full editing mode, because I hate taking myself out of editing mode and going back into drafting mode. So what I did when I finished my draft of Sculptor was I went back and I actually added 2 chapters and I added a beginning because I knew I would need those. And the reason I added those 2 chapters was because I didn't have a POV character that is a major character coming in until like over 100 pages in. And feedback I got from Kira on my first book was I had that with a character. We could not do that. It needed to hit closer to 50 pages. So adding in these 2 kind of flashback chapters helped introduce that character to the readers earlier, set reader expectations for what was going to be happening, maybe set some tone expectations as well while we were in a little bit of the fluff. But it was taking that kind of feedback from a previous edit letter forward and applying it to a new book. So I wanted to ask the 2 of you for leveling up, what is some feedback you are going to take forward from feedback you've gotten or edit letter?
I think feedback that I got when I was doing Smooch Pit that I'm really pulling forward is to not neglect the setting. Not that my feedback was like, you're neglecting the setting, but that was something that I worked on a lot with my edits. And I think it's because that's a detail that comes later, right? Like, some people it might be beneficial, like, to really work on the setting before you dive in, but that's just so many rabbit holes to go down that I like to get a broad overview of the setting and then dive in deep later. But I kind of like got to a point where I was so excited about the book and I just wanted it to be going out because I was so happy with how the story was landing that I was kind of skipping those last steps. So I feel like that last coat of polish is like, it's not only the line level polish, which I love to do, but it's really digging into all of the, you know, the juicy textural details that make a story feel immersive.
I think that really makes sense for historical, where
Yeah.
it is a very research heavy setting detail. And like, I definitely get some elements of that for fantasy. Like, we've talked about it before with like researching ships and stuff, but like, I knew my characters were going to be on that for the whole length of it. So it did make sense for me to do some more upfront research for that. But I don't think I did that until I was done my draft for getting into like big details. But yeah, it makes sense to be economical about the time you are allocating to research and how you're bringing that into your draft, knowing what you need to do. And whenever I think about that, I always think about Brandon Sanderson talked about it in one of his lecture series where he did a whole bunch of research on languages and making up a language for this people and this group, and then he never used it at all. And what he should have done was done a whole bunch of world building work on the legal systems because it was a trial, but he wasn't thinking about what he actually needed. So it's that world builder's disease, and it can branch out into other things where you're kind of deep diving into holes and then you never use that hole. So I think being conscious of that and economical with that is a really smart thing to do, especially when your time is so limited.
Right, except I had the
Zilla.
opposite problem, which is that I was like, I'm gonna be smart and economical about it and do it later. And then it got to be later, and I was like, well, I think we're good. And turns out we were not good.
Yeah.
So you have to do it at some point, is what I'm learning.
Yes, you do have to do it at some point. Zilla, what about you?
So this is hard because I feel like I have a lot to work on, as I think many people feel like they have a lot to work on. But the biggest thing for me is just in the beginning getting everything right in terms of genre expectations and character expectations. So when I went back to, this is obviously not the biggest part of my edit letter. As we know, we've talked about me combining characters, but I think it's just getting those like creepy, dreading feelings a lot earlier in a way that impacts my character so that she can bring that with her like throughout. And so the reader actually knows what's going on before the character figures it out. And then also character quirks, which I can definitely deepen, and I want to deepen. So I think that's my biggest thing, is just like getting that promise of the premise like really, really clear chapter one, because I feel like I am really good about like creating the mess, and people being like, I want to watch the mess, but I need to make it like more unique maybe.
That's fair. And really kind of figure out what your tone is for setting that and stuff like that.
Which is why I rewrite every chapter a billion times before I can move forward.
As you write, you figure out what you need, and it's this is why we edit over and over and over again, because it really does develop. Something I'm really working on in the season break is I want to read some books on creating kind of like deep POV characters, because that was feedback I got. I have 3 main characters, and one of them was very clearly the standout in terms of how she was being kind of perceived and stuff. And it's like I would really like to do, especially with a multi POV book, which I write because it's fantasy, I'd really like to improve on kind of differentiating characters and increase my interiority and all that sort of stuff, because I've got the world building, I've got the setting, I've got the endings that don't want to make people put down the book. But I think right in the beginning as well, and this is why my beginnings are a little weaker, I don't necessarily have the character punch as much, and I would really like to kind of work on just kind of improving how I write my characters.
Have you done the Story Genius exercises? Not like read the whole book, but they're like exercises.
I've heard about them, but I haven't done them.
I do them like after draft 1, and it really helps me to lock in the voice, I think, even clearer. And I wonder if that would be helpful for you to do like a side-by-side for your characters, because obviously I don't do multi-POV, but I am doing a dual timeline, which, you know, makes the voices like slightly different.
One's full of hope and one's crushed.
Right, exactly. But I found that in this first draft, which is why I'm going back to rewrite it, they're the same. It's the same person, like whether it's past or present, and like that's not That's not right. I need
Mhm.
the first one to be a little bit more of a girl's girl, like excited, whatever, before she gets cynical later. But I found that opening up, and even just reading and not doing the exercises yet, but like it helps me get more into the mindset of what the current trauma is versus like what the next trauma is going to be.
That's a good idea. I am writing it down so I don't forget it. Story Genius character exercises. I will try that. Cool. Okay. All right. I think that's it for leveling up. Zilla, take it away.
Oh, you guys, I'm so excited. Okay, so I did revisit my notes for this, and then I decided I don't want to go off of notes. I want to just like feel the vibes and pretend like we're actually at a panel. So I hope that's
Yeah,
okay.
I love it. That's totally fine.
So I want you guys to think about Ivy, you have one book. So like unicorn status over there. Anna, I do want you to think about your past book, but I want you to mostly focus on Banshee, like from the first time you sent it out all the way to Lane, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll obviously go into some edit stuff later. And then I'm going to focus on Murder Night because that's what got agented, even though I have past books as well. So, like, just setting the stage for our listeners, like, we're going to only be focusing on the books that got us agented and not necessarily the past because I know we've kind of talked about those before. So,
Yep, makes sense to me.
when you started querying the book that got you your agent, I want you to talk to me about the mindset you were going into the trenches with. Like, you are sending that first query, what's going through your head?
I think I was very anxious to get it out there with Banshee because I knew it was like a hot pitch. Like it's high concept, but also that was when people were really seeing like the horror romance genre blend trend taking off. Gothic was really trending. And I think I felt a lot of anxiety and pressure to get it out there quickly. And also, like, it was the beginning of spooky season, so I started querying in mid-September. And I really, really wanted to get it out there in time. It felt like that needed to be the time. And in hindsight, it was a little early.
Yeah, but you also had a lot of, I would say, external pressure. So we were sprinting at 5 a.m. and I remember us sending snippets and people just like oohing and awing over you, like obviously for good reason. It's an incredible book, but like I feel like, is there a pressure that you felt? I assume that there is, but I want to hear it from you, that I need to get back out there. I need to have this book in agents' hands.
Totally. And also it was like wanting validation because at the time I was like querying my first book and I didn't query it for super long. I sent out like I think around 50 queries, mostly in around this time last year, so like May. And so by the time I was like, you know, wrapping up edits on Banshee, I really didn't have a lot of queries left out there. Some CNRs, pretty much everything else had come back as a rejection, or it was like they just don't respond to people they aren't interested in. So I was like floundering there and really wanting to get something out there that agents were gonna like.
Yeah. Did you pitch Banshee before you started querying?
Yeah, I did a few pitch contests, and I think I also kind of like did a little bit of like hype posting. So I was like posting my agent's guide. I definitely pitched when I was like still drafting it, and those didn't particularly get a lot of traction just because I hadn't really put a lot of effort into the pitch yet. But when I pitched the agent's guide, like before I started querying, I think it was like a couple weeks before I started querying, I was just wrapping up my final edits, that got some traction.
Ivy, so for you, I don't want to call you a newbie because I feel like I know you at this point. Like I don't think you go into anything not prepared. But for Undying Summer, it was your first book. So like how did you approach it? Because I feel like you and I weren't as close at this point. So like I'm not really sure I even remember like what you were doing before you started querying.
So I sent my first query at the end of May, I think it was like May 21st, 2025. And I had had a baby mid-March.
And it was right after Rev Pit, right? So like you
Yeah.
didn't pause.
No. What happened was I sent my book out for beta feedback at the beginning of March. So it was right before I went on mat leave, and I was like, okay, I'm obviously not going to be writing right after I have a baby, so let's at least get this out for feedback. So
Mhm.
there's things happening. And then my older kid was still in daycare part-time, and he was at my parents' part-time. So I had 3 days a week where I just had to, like, if it's not your first time, a newborn is chill as hell. Like, obviously, depending on the newborn. So I just had, like, sleeping baby strapped to my chest, nothing to do. So I'm like, okay, screw it, I'm gonna write.
Some of us did not have that experience.
You had twins, so the fact that you survived it all is a miracle. Like, this was not the same for you. Yeah, so my second baby is chill as hell.
Love that for
He's
you.
still just a real he's a mellow dude. But because of that, I had quite a bit of time, and it wasn't like I was getting up and like walking around a lot because I was still in like recovery stuff. So I did end up doing quite a bit of edits. And this was based off the beta feedback I was getting. This was based off of 2 meetings with RevPit editors I had because I was shortlisted. So Carly Hayward and Jenny Chappelli. So I was taking that feedback, I was taking beta feedback, and I made myself my spreadsheet of edits that I was going to do. I went through, I rewrote the book from scratch. I completely replotted the romance plotline, all that sort of stuff, and I sent my first query out in May. And I got a full request basically my first day in the trenches. And I was like, oh, shoot. So I rushed to finish my last few chapters because I was still line editing those. And I sent those off and I got a rejection that weekend because it's a really fast reader. And it was a long weekend and stuff too. But I started querying in end of May. And I don't think I was ever anybody that was on people's radar in the
Mm-mm.
big group. It was, because I wasn't part of like, I don't sprint. I don't really like sprinting because I get in the zone and then the sprint timer goes off and I'm like, oh, what? So I don't feel very compelled by the sprint timer.
That's great
So
though.
I don't really sprint. So I didn't really chat a ton for that
Yeah.
stuff. I just kind of updated on querying stuff. But then I got a agent offer mid-September, so I was in the query trenches for like,
Whoa, hold on, Ivy. We're gonna
okay,
take this
sorry,
step
sorry.
by step.
Okay, sorry.
No skipping
Which is that's
ahead.
how long I was in there for.
So I think maybe I'm a little bit different. Like I had been in the trenches twice before, and
Mm.
like this is like when I tell you like I wrote this book and knew Alex was gonna like it. Listen, I think I had even said it a couple of times. Like Alex just needs to read so she can offer to me.
I definitely remember you saying this at least a
I
couple
mean,
times.
Yes, absolutely.
Probably
I
a
just
dozen.
knew. Oh, at least
Yes.
yes. Enemies to lovers, me and Alex. She just didn't know about it. But I think like my mindset going in was like I'm gonna be so chill about this. I've done it before. Like I know how it works. But also Alex had been so like enthusiastic about my second book and this book. Like she really, really wanted it. And I was like, I'm not gonna be in the trenches for like longer than 2 months. Like done, dusted, I'm gonna get an agent. So I think that actually really hurt me going in because I was like, I'm gonna have a really quick dip. And then it ended up being longer than that, which was not great for my mental health. And it was just totally not something that I ever want to repeat. But anyway, let's talk about, was there a point in time during your querying of this book that you were like, yes, this is the one? Like, I am getting an agent with this. Or did you go the other way where it was like, I think I can shelve it and like just work on the next thing and like it'll happen eventually? Like, where were you on that spectrum?
I feel like I knew I was gonna get an agent with it the whole time, but it was just like how long. And I just had a strong feeling.
People don't get agented on their first book, so I started querying it, and in my head I was already like, okay, this is just so I get the experience of querying and I understand all these things. And I got full requests and I was like, oh, hype. But I never got like bonkers amount of full requests. Like I don't think I ever cracked 10 even with an offer on the line. So although I didn't nudge a ton of people with it, but I I started querying at the end of May and I started writing my next book in June. Yeah, I was immediately right back at it because I didn't think this book was going to happen. I identified the problems with it and why I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought my writing was good, but that the hook was weak. So I thought of something more hooky and I started writing that, and now we have Sculptor, which is about to be sent to my agent.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm delusional over here. Like, I knew. I was like, this is the one.
No, same. But I never felt that with my first book. I was like, maybe it will. And then even when I got one full request, I was just like, someone noticed me. But I never I never had the delusion. With Banshee, I was always delusional.
I think you guys both got hyped up a lot in the big group, but
Yeah.
also in pitch events and things like that,
Yeah.
in a way that it was like, okay, we're getting traction with this. And I never had that, and that might have contributed to mindset stuff as well.
I think you're right, because so like I've always done pretty. We're gonna ignore my first book, right? It was just very generic fantasy. I still love that book, but like it is what it is. I've always done like pretty well in pitch events, even though the books that I was querying were not fantasy. And I feel like fantasy is like a pretty dominant genre in pitch events, at least from like my experience. And so I do think that like getting traction in those like gave me a false sense of, I don't want to say false sense. I have an ego. I know I've got an ego. I have a lot of confidence in myself, but I don't think it's unfounded because, you know, just like what we're here to do, we do our homework. Like we work really hard, and I knew that I was working towards this, but I think the timing of it all was really hard because you can get 27 full requests and it still takes months on end to hear back from any of those.
Yeah, I feel like I did fine in pitch events. Like, it was very middle of the road for me. Like, I did a lot better at things that weren't pitch events, you know what I mean? I got some traction, I got some agent likes. But I feel like in general, I just had a lot of, like, good feedback on my pitch.
Yeah.
And I knew it was high concept because it was just really easy to pitch in one sentence from the beginning. And I knew it was a unique combination of things. So I don't know. I also just really know concepts and like how people react to concepts that are going to get through from working in advertising. Like, I feel like I've mentioned this on an episode before, but the concepts that have legs and the ones that make it through tend to be universally liked for the most part.
At least at the concept stage, yeah.
Yeah, at the concept stage, execution is a whole different ballgame, but, you know, you'll find ones that, like, some people like and some people don't, but then there's some that just, like, you get an overwhelmingly positive response to, where most people are like, oh, there's something interesting there, and that was the same response that I was getting with Banshee, so that's how I knew.
Yeah. So when you guys were querying, tell me, like, the best moment that you had while querying, not your offer, not anything like that. And then tell me, like, the most embarrassing or, like, the mistake that you made.
Oh, yeah, so, okay, I'll say this all happened within, like, me initially querying Banshee before I got into Smooch Pit. So the best moment was definitely, like, the first 2 days. I had, like, I think 5 full requests and editor interest. So that was really exciting because it just blew my experience with my first book completely out of the water. Again, I had 1 full request on that book. So yeah, to get 5 in a couple days, I felt like I was on top of the world. But my mistake was that there is this one agency that I queried early, like probably a week before I started actually querying, because they were open for like a day and it was like an exciting thing. So I wasn't like really done pulling all of my pieces together, and I accidentally sent them a manuscript that said draft 2 on the title page.
No.
And I was like,
That's
oh
rough.
my god, this is so embarrassing. And they never responded, and it's totally fine because I am so happy with where I ended up. But yeah, don't send a full manuscript that has your draft number written on the title page, especially if it's an early draft. Because, like, listen, I do very thorough drafts, but they didn't need to know that.
No, they did
no.
not.
That was need to know only. I think my best moment was getting a request, like my first day querying. I was hype as hell. My husband was home, and I was like literally jumping up and down. It was pretty sweet. I didn't have a ton of really bad moments while querying, but I accidentally read or misread somebody's MSWL at one point. Zilla's arch nemesis, and I sent her my book, but she does not take that genre. She took a different type of fantasy, so the rejection I got was, I don't rep this genre, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, swear I'm illiterate, and it was just, yeah.
I think it just,
meanwhile, she probably doesn't give a crap, but
well, and even if she did, like, we're human, and I think that's something that, this might be a whole other topic, but we can talk about it anyway. The industry, I feel like, is trying to, like like distribute the humanity through books and stories and all of that. But sometimes the way that we treat each other going through this process is very like almost robotic or almost like dehumanizing. And I don't know, I think it's really endearing to hear like other people making the same mistakes that I did or, you know, similar or whatever. Because I want an agent that can see the humanity in all of this as well. Because that's, in my opinion, what makes a good story. So the fact that we can find it in our lives is important.
And there's so much talk about numbers and stats and, you know, full request this, partial request that, CNRs. Just, it's all feels very, like, jargony. And it's fun, because, like, we love the stats, but it's also easy to just get caught up in, like, only talking about that and not just, like, being real with each other.
Yeah, because when you're on social media, it's all about, well, what's your request rate? Like,
Right,
how many
exactly.
requests have you got? Like, how many agents are you talking to? You've got editor interest. Like, where is it small press or is it big five? Because those are very different connotations. And that's a pressure that I think we all have, or at least have seen. I know I felt it quite a lot, and that led to I mean, you guys are with me, my huge spiral with Alex, where it was like she kept saying she was going to read and she was so excited and all of this for months. And then I was like, I can't do this anymore for my mental health. Like, I put a date on my calendar, my paper calendar, and was like, I am withdrawing from her on this day. And she ended up offering literally the day before. Literally,
Can
it
we
was
do
cosmic.
that?
I don't know.
Can we do that for other things? Like, clearly the universe heard, so, I don't know, don't give me any ideas.
Listen to me. Has it gone through my mind for sub? Yes, it has. Because once my next book is ready, like, I'm happy to set a deadline and, like, let's move to the next. Like, I don't need to be in this state of limbo forever. Like, I just don't. If you like it, you're going to read it. And if you don't, like, I've got more books.
Yeah, and, like, I'm not that fast of a writer, so it'll take me a good amount of time to get the next book ready anyways.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I think the best part of my sub journey was just, y'all are gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh at me, but, like, my arch nemesis, when she sent me what do we even want to call this? Like, a revise for
your synopsis R&R?
Yeah, I think that spiral. So number one, I was on a writing retreat with Megan and Sierra, who were my CPs, and they were doing their stuff. Sierra was on deadline, like we were all like super busy. But I was like, what do I do with this? Like, Megan has already looked this over and given me the stamp of approval. And I think that's what made me feel so bonded to the two of you, because I was like, who do I trust that I can go to? And I was like, Anna and Ivy. And I think, like, that was the moment where I was like, y'all are my people now. Like, I have Velcroed to you. Like, and that was really special for me specifically. So, yeah, I think that was my kind of high point, even though
Even though it was a low point.
yeah, even though it was a low point. So, let's not talk about your agent, but let's talk about the agent you thought you would get. So, when you were querying and you were looking at all of these MSWLs and you were thinking about, like, an agent's portfolio, can you, like, describe or talk about the kind of agent that you thought would love you and what happened there?
Yeah, so there was this one specific agent who it was one of the first agents that I queried back in September before Smooch Pit, and it was my first full request, and it was a very enthusiastic full request, so, like, I kind of thought, like, this is it. Obviously, you know, I paused for Smooch Pit, I had, like, went back into the trenches again, I had more communications with this agent where she was, like, very excited to read. And I always felt like an attachment, I think because it was my first full request, and, like, I really respected, like, the books that this agent had worked on, and, like, you know, the type of, like, brand that she had going on, so I felt like that was where I was going to end up. And it didn't end up working out. Which is, like, totally okay, because I never even thought I would sign with Lane, because I just, you know, I don't know. I didn't think it was going to happen.
Top. He's
I'm
tier
absolutely
one.
thrilled.
I don't know if I thought about it too much. I feel like I would have expected myself to sign with somebody who was a little bit more fantasy specific, because Kira does a lot of horror. Obviously, she has two authors, one of which is a fantasy author. But
But you write like dark, gross fantasy.
yeah, I'm horror adjacent-ish kind of thing. But her MSWL talks about horror, it doesn't talk about fantasy at all. Actually only subbed to her because I saw somebody get a request who wrote romantic fantasy, and I was like, okay, sure. If she's taking it, she's taking it. And I had one agent around the time of my offer. She was my longest standing one. She did a lot of fantasy, and I had my eye on her, and she stepped aside for time because it was right near Frankfurt.
Ugh.
So she never even read my book.
The step-asides for
Womp womp.
time are heartbreaking.
Because it's like, if you rejected me on my own merit, that's one thing. But like,
Yeah, it's like the what if.
yep, exactly.
I had something somewhat similar. The agent that I was like, I don't want to say hoping for because I think I went in knowing Alex was like a really great match for me. But I had the consultation the summer before I started querying. So like I hadn't even finished the book. But the talk with this agent was so good. I mean, we talked way over the 20 minutes that I was allotted that I had, paid to talk to her for. And I didn't pitch her the book, but she ended up talking to me about like what my revisions looked like and how I had changed my first chapter from, the critique that she had done. And she was like, "Well, I'd love to read it. Like, could you, send it over?" And I was like, "Sure, maybe she wants to update the critique. Like, that'd be fantastic." She's at a top agency. Like, I really bonded with her on this phone call. So she got back to me within 24 hours and was like, "Hey, I love this. Like, would you send me the full?" And at the time, I was out with somebody at her agency already. Like, I had already queried someone else, like, on referral. And I was like, yes, I think I will withdraw and query you officially. So I ended up doing that. And she was super responsive all through my querying process. She always got back to me with like something very personalized whenever I nudged her, but she was busy. She has like very top level authors, and I knew that she was not a horror agent, even though like we really connected on things and she liked where it was going. We had talked through my endings, so like that wasn't a surprise for her, and I knew that she was open to the tragic ending that I had. But when it came time to, like, I had nudged her with my offer, when it came time to her, like, deciding, she was like, I just can't see a vision for making it not so tangled. Because she thought that I had some tangles in, like, my second half of the book. Which I did, and I did do those in revisions with Alex, but it was just sad because I do feel like it's the personality with her and I that worked really well. Whereas when Alex and I were on the call, it was really awkward. So, yeah.
I like calls are just so awkward in general.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. So, where were you when you got the email for your call?
So when I got the email for my call with Lane, I was at a Survivor watch party, and I was a little bit tipsy, and I was having a great time.
I bet you were having
And you
a
were
great
having
time.
a great time.
Yeah, my time became even better.
Yeah. I was at home. I think I was sitting on the floor of my living room playing with my kids. My husband was at work, and I immediately took a screenshot and ran to Discord. And then my husband can't have his phone at work because he's a teacher. So I was texting him, waiting for him to get off work so that I could set up a time for this phone call. Because I'm like, I need you to watch it since we can do this call. That's where I was.
That's so cute. I was like super raggedy in bed doing laundry, watching some kind of trash TV show. And I got the email. I didn't even see who it was from. And as a not emotional person, started crying. And I screamed for my husband. He thought I'd seen a spider. He came running. It was a moment, shall we say. And then after I told him, we ran to Discord too.
Yep. No,
Yep.
Always running to Discord. I think everyone was like asleep, and I was tagging people to be like, wake the fuck up. Like,
Yeah.
it's happening.
Yep.
Now I'm trying to remember. Was I asleep?
It was
Yeah.
like 11 p.m. or
Oh,
something.
then I
so,
was
like,
definitely asleep.
You were asleep, and I think you responded at like 3 a.m, and you were like, "Go to bed."
Oh, yeah, you're
Or
exactly right.
something.
That sounds right.
This was also like, this was at the very end of my nudge period. Like, Lane was not the first offer I got.
That's right.
And it was actually the last offer I got, and the call was scheduled for the next day. So I really needed to get some sleep. I could not. I was so excited.
I love that.
Yeah, mine was a lot less explicit than the 2 yours for the agents you got, because you, Zilla, you had Alex put offer of representation in the email, and for you, Anna, it was in your offer window, so you knew it was an offer.
Yeah.
For me, I'm in Discord like, I'm trying to figure that out, and it was
It
just a bit of
wasn't,
a
though.
thing.
Yeah,
The delusion. The delusion was going the wrong way.
it was going the wrong way. So let's talk about the call. Anna, can you talk about like kind of the calls that you had, what you were thinking, maybe some questions that you asked? Give us like a nice little summary there.
Yeah, so I had 4 calls, 4 offers of representation, and I had like a really long list of questions kind of compiled together from various people that I talked to, mostly from Ivy. Ivy had great questions.
My spreadsheet.
Yeah,
Yep, it
so
was
I
the
wasn't
spreadsheet.
asking every single question on every call. I would probably get to like maybe, I don't know, a dozen questions per call. It really
Yeah.
depended on like the agent, kind of like where they were at in their career, the types of questions I had for them. So I would say like 3 of the calls I had were with agents who were like newer in various aspects. So their questions were a lot more focused about like, you know, the type of strategy that they would take on submission. I would ask about mentorship. I would ask, you know, if they had any sales that were not reported on Publishers Marketplace, and typically they could say like yes or no, but they couldn't tell me details of what the sale was, obviously. And for everyone, I was really like, you know, seeing if we would get along with communication style, everything like that. With Lane, I wasn't asking a ton about sales. Like, I did want to know about his submission strategy and like what, you know, editors and imprints he had in mind, but the proof is in the pudding there, because he's been in the industry for a long time and he is the top selling agent in my genre. So I felt pretty good about that. I really wanted to know if we would like work well together, so I asked questions about like, when do you like to see new projects, you know, how do you, you know, work with clients over their careers, how do you communicate, and all that stuff. But really I was going off of vibes. I felt comfortable talking to all of the agents that I spoke with, but I was thinking about like, who would I feel most confident in like putting my book into their hands.
I only had the one call, so that one I went in. I was very grateful when Kira immediately said it was an offer of representation, because I'd waited 6 days between the email and the call itself, and I was just absolutely dying. So it was again kind of going through that spreadsheet I had given Anna. I didn't get to everything on the spreadsheet. I had already talked to one of Kira's other author, because I knew her from a Discord server, so I had a little bit of knowledge about her from that. So it was just kind of going through that, and then at one point, I don't remember how this came up because it was a long time ago, but we started trash talking the Legends of the Seeker TV show, and it was like, okay, this is a good fit. This is fine. Because that TV show is terrible.
I've never even heard of that, if I can be honest.
It is an adaptation of the Sword of Truth series, and it is not good.
Okay. So for me, as I said before, like Alex was my initial offer. We got on the call and it was super awkward because I think my expectation for the call was like something very conversational. Like I wanted a back and forth, asking questions, just like chatting, and she was like ready to be interviewed. Like it was just kind of a little bit awkward because I tried to interview, but that just wasn't my style. It's still not really my style.
You're a yapper.
I'm a yapper. And Ivy, I know I used your spreadsheet, but I also didn't even like feel the need to ask half the questions because I've been in the community for a while. I've queried before. Like I knew Alex's reputation from like her very first offer to where she was now. Like I'd watched her start her career. And I think my biggest concerns for her were I wanted to talk about AI. I wanted to talk about sales. I wanted to talk about pitching and strategy and editors. And I wanted to talk about her client load. But one of my favorite questions that I've asked, and I hope that people start to ask their agents more, is, what is your weakness when it comes to agenting, and what's your plan to work on that over the next 6, 12 months, 2 years, whatever it is. I know for Alex, she is like a Pokemon master. She wants to catch them all, and she wants to go full time. And I think that she's very open about that. She's very transparent. And so when I asked her what her weakness was, she said reading and getting back to people. So reading full second manuscripts, third manuscripts, whatever it is. And like, I won't lie, it does make me nervous, but I also know that with talking with you guys, with talking with the Discord, like, agents are kind of all over the place with how fast they get back on reading second manuscripts, even first manuscripts. And so I also reached out to Alana. I asked her about, if anyone's complained about Alex or left Alex. There was only one person, and other than that, like, all green flags. And obviously anti-AI, we're going to put it in all the contracts. So that was nice.
The AI stuff was a big question for me too.
Yeah, I think we're moving, in my opinion, in the right direction with having everyone on board for AI clauses in contracts. I think even a couple of years ago, they weren't even sure how to do it as effectively.
Worded.
Yeah, to make it, cover everything it needed to cover.
Yeah, I think the problem is that publishers, like the corporate entities,
Yep.
want to use AI to cut corners to various things. So it's like, yeah, they can be like, oh, we don't want any books written by AI, we don't want AI cover art, but then they'll be kind of sneaky about, like, trying to do AI audiobooks or AI translations or things that's like, no, like, not that either, please.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys watched the whole video with the Macmillan CEO, but he was
I'm
talking
like halfway
about,
through it.
Oh my
I just
god,
watched
it's so
a video
good.
talking about that video, so kind of.
Which is totally fine. Do your thing. It's a really long video. I ended up like skipping to the parts that I cared about because it did have like really good chapter breakdowns. But one of the things that he was talking about with AI is he was like, we can't cut it out completely because we want to utilize it for workflow. And I was like, that's what everybody says. Like, that's what my day job does too.
Everyone says it is a slippery slope.
It is. And so they got a little bit deeper, and he's like, for audiobooks, we don't have the money to give every author an audiobook. But
I'd rather not have an audiobook.
So I agree.
And an AI audiobook, agree.
I agree. But his stance was that I would rather make money on an audiobook in order to give the author money and to continue like getting books out there than not get the audiobook out at all. And I was like, okay, so
don't buy the audiobook rights if you're not going to do it properly.
I agree with
Thanks,
that.
bye.
I completely agree with that. Especially with I can't get over the pollution piece of it. Like that is always my like we're destroying people's homes for fake
I
things.
have seen suggestions that I don't think the AI stuff is going away, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
I'd really like it to go away.
Yeah.
I have seen suggestions, and I would like Elon Musk to get on board with this, is to put the AI data centers in space, because the vacuum of space will control the cooling and we won't need water for it. So I think SpaceX needs to go build AI data centers in space, let space handle the cooling, and then we don't have the water pollution aspect that comes along with it. This is my opinion. I've seen people suggest this. I don't know if it's scientifically.
I was about to say, I need some scientists to get back to me.
Okay, here's my idea.
Get back to us, but that's what I want.
Put all of the AI centers in space. Put all of the AI bros also in space. Tie a very long string to the Earth to keep it from, drifting off into the ether of space. Guys, I've seen Project Hail Mary. I know what I'm talking about. And then we just, we take some big old scissors and we just cut that string.
Snip.
Give them a little push. Goodbye.
All backed by Project Hail
Why would we
Mary.
need the string in the first place then?
Why do we need the string? To give them a false sense of security.
Okay.
It's the betrayal in the second half.
And it's, okay, maybe it's a giant steel chain, something different from a string, but...
It's made out of Zetanite. Did you watch the movie?
There we go.
We're going fishing.
Yeah.
We're going fishing.
Exactly. Yeah, fishing on, another planet's deadly atmosphere. Wherever they want to go for their vacations.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
Ooh, wait, what if we stored them in submarines?
We all live in an imploding submarine.
Exactly. I just really hate AI, guys.
Do you remember, Zilla, you're making a face. Yeah, do you remember when they all went the
Mm-hmm.
trash submarine and
Mm-hmm.
it went
That was
yeah,
exactly what I was
Ocean
thinking about.
Like
And then
they
I was also
literally
thinking about the
named it
orcas.
after a scandal. Like they predicted their own demise with that one.
Ocean Gate.
Yeah. Come on. Like
Yes.
who wants to go on my new private jet? I call it Skygate.
I mean, you have fun with
I
that.
don't know about that. I don't know. Wow,
Yeah.
we got so off topic.
But you know what? It was
That's fine.
worth it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's what makes, number one, this podcast fun for me. But number two, that's what makes the community, like, so worth being involved in. Because, like, I'd never heard this space thing with AI. I have heard sending the AI bros to space, funnily enough.
Yeah.
But without the AI
Not
data
an original
centers.
thought. I mean, that could be the plan to get them there. We get rid of the
Yes.
data centers and the problem all at once.
All right,
Yep.
so I'm going to somewhat segue us back. I did have another call, and when I asked about AI on that call, the answer wasn't as clear. And I really want to say it's because this agent was very inexperienced, and the fact that I was literally her first and only offer, like she had just been promoted to agent in her own right, and I'm really hoping it was just nerves. But she said something like, you know, we know AI is not going away. Like, I never want to use it in books, but like, you know, we use it to do other things. And like, it was very vague and like flip floppy, and like, it just made me uncomfortable, along with a couple of other like just not best fit things that she said. But the fact is, like, other than that AI moment, like, we vibed. Me and that girl could have talked. She was super kind, super motivated, and I just hope that she got her feet under her for the next one, because I know she has offered since.
I think this is something we've seen. This is what you said made me think about it.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen some author friends of ours fall into this trap, which is your agent is your business partner, not your friend. So even though you might have slightly better vibes on a phone call with somebody, like more able to talk, more able to just kind of shoot shit, as it were, it does not necessarily mean that they are your best advocate. It does not necessarily mean that they are your best business partner. And in some cases, when your agent is your friend, it actually makes it really, really hard to treat it like the business relationship it is. So we've seen people have a hard time cutting ties with their agent because they are so chummy with their agent, or it feels like they're betraying their agent rather than treating it as what it is, which is a business relationship.
Right, and
Yeah.
specifically a business relationship that isn't working, like that, because that's why, like,
Yes.
if the business part isn't working, but the friendship part is, that really complicates
That makes
things.
it does. It really does.
So, where are you guys in terms of your relationship with your agents? Like, Anna, I'm not gonna lie, I just want to see you and Lane like hitting up the streets sometime. Like, that would make my life.
Let's tear up this town. Yeah, I mean, talking to Lane on the call, it felt very like down to business, but like in a good way. It was very comfortable. I felt like we could easily like work together, and I could feel confident like putting my book in his hands. I could feel comfortable like going to him with whatever questions. Like he's very businesslike, but like also it's chill. It's not super formal or anything like that, and that's how I work well. There was definitely some agents that I talked to, like your experience, Zilla, where it was more like, oh yeah, we could be pals, we could chat it up, but that was, well, it's cool to have that. It wasn't like the only thing that I was looking for.
It was very businesslike on the call, and I think first few emails were very businesslike, and it's gotten more casual as we go. So, like emojis and emails, for examples, those are happening more. The communication is really, really solid. So like I had a point where I had a question, and it had been something that Kira was going to email me about the next day. So she was really, really on about like, okay, so let's just reset kind of what our communication expectations are. Is it okay if I send just like end of the week wrap ups for things like this? And I'm like, oh yeah, totally. If I know that's what to expect, that's not a big deal. So she's been really, really on about communications when I've had concerns about imprints. She's been really, really responsive to that. I feel like we're usually generally on the same page. responsive anytime I have thoughts, concerns, things like that. She always gets back to me like really, really fast, like usually that day, usually within an hour. Like, but yeah, she's really, really communicative, and I like that because obviously I'm not going to micromanage the submission process, but I really do like to be informed about what's going on. So that really works for me.
Yeah. I think with Alex, we're very similar mindset. Like, we just like to get things done and like we try to be friendly, but I think we're both in the back of our mind just kind of like strategizing all the time, or at least that's the
Hmm.
vibe I get. Like, for example, we were going to have a check-in for my dev edits, but I ended up pushing it back because I wasn't as far as I wanted to be. And then when I emailed her back, like being like, "Hey, do you want to reschedule? Like, I think I got it." She was like, "No, you're good. I'll just see it when it's ready." And I was like, "Great." Like, I don't email her unless I have like a question about my specific like submission. I don't email her for like really anything. I don't even really like her posts on Instagram. I did send her, and I did fight with myself about this. I sent her one Instagram DM with, and I think I sent it to you too. It says, "At my funeral, I want everyone to get one of these." And it's like the man who died, and it says, "Let's stay in touch." And it has like the little Ouija board.
Oh, that's so you.
Hmm.
And I was like, "Listen,
Instead of wedding favors, you get funeral favors.
yes, girl." And I was like, "Listen, Alex, like, I know that I'm trying to be professional and only stick to email with you, but I needed to send you this because this is my whip." Like, I just needed you to see it.
Hmm.
And she wrote back and she was very kind and all of that. But like, I do not feel comfortable continuing that conversation. Even though like we had been in each other's DMs before. It's just like not a line I really want to cross.
It's nice when you don't have to go looking for past conversations in multiple places. If everything is always in email, then you know where to look to find something if you're talking about it.
Yep.
Whereas if you're texting, if you are DMing, if you are also emailing, who knows where that conversation was? And now you have to go look in three different places to find it. So I think it's a lot easier to just keep it kind of collated.
And I also like just don't want to be that person with her. Like, I don't want her to see me as casual. I want her to see me as a partner.
Hmm.
If we could
Yep.
now transition into our 2 week, 3 week wait, because I know for me that was the most impostery like period of time I've ever had in my entire life. I have never felt so unsure about myself than that moment. So like I'd love to hear how you guys did.
So I follow the shotgun strategy for querying, which means if they repped it, I sent it. And I had a lot of queries out. So I was very, and I this is when we started talking, was I was talking to you guys about who
Mhm.
I was going to actually nudge because I didn't want to nudge people that I thought were a worse fit than Kira. I wanted
Mhm.
people that I thought would at least be equal to her. And it's hard to tell until you've like had a phone conversation with them and actually kind of get to know them. But just in terms of what agency they were at, what sales they have, things like that. So I did nudge all my fulls and I nudged, I think, like 20 or so agents. It might have been less. It might have been like 20 total, including my fulls. So I sent those nudges. A few of them did turn into full requests, but I did not get any other offers. So at the end of the 2 weeks, it was just kind of me chasing down the one last full to try to get an answer. And I did get that answer. So I was able to get back a day earlier than I planned. But yeah, it was just kind of like, oh, why did I even do this 2 weeks? Because it didn't result in anything. And even though it was a responsible thing to do, and I should have, and it was fine, but that's kind of where we were at. Was it was a lot of 2 weeks of just waiting, and I didn't
Mhm.
get like any answers until like week two, other than initial passes on like just queries.
So I did 2 weeks for my wait, and it was absolutely excruciating, but also, in hindsight, I think I should have asked for a little bit more time from the get-go, just because
Hmm.
and they say that 2 weeks is industry standard, but it's seeming like more and more 3 weeks is actually closer to standard, even if you're not
Yeah.
falling around any holidays or anything like that. Like, my first offer came mid-February, so I mean there was really nothing going on. Like, you would think everyone's business as usual. Like, it wasn't even like spring breaks weren't even happening yet, and I had a lot of agents that I was very excited about were bowed out due to time. And the kind of rejections where it's like, oh, this normally looks right up my alley, but I just don't have time. And that was kind of heartbreaking. However, it's like, if they're really that interested, they will make time. And they did.
It's not a long book.
Yeah.
I was surprised by how many agents were not periodically checking their query inbox. So I was getting people responding to the pitch a week and a half in saying, sorry, I don't have time to read this. And it's like, I nudged you a week and a half ago. Okay.
Totally. Or even like I had a few rejections come in, or not even, they weren't even rejections. They were just messages come in after my deadline had passed, like days, weeks after my deadline had passed, being like, I'm so sorry to have missed your deadline. They're just not in there. And you know what? That's fine, because you want an agent who is ready to spend time with you. I had one agent respond, and he was like, Anna, I have so much on my plate right now. And I was like, you sound stressed. Like, do you want a hug? But yeah, it was a weird time, very like emotionally up and down. It was right at the beginning of my like second time in the trenches with this book when I got my first offer. So I was nudging everybody, and a lot of people like hadn't even got to my place in line in their query inbox yet, because it had only been like 10 days. So I had a lot of responses coming in. Like before I was even done sending my nudges, I had like more responses coming in. I got a bunch more full requests on that first day, which was super exciting, including from Lane. So thanks for checking your query inbox, Lane. So a lot of responses right away. And then over the weekend, I think a few more trickling in. A lot of rejections on like Monday and Tuesday. I would say I had a few more requests come through, but it was a lot of people just like stepping aside. Some due to time, some due to just like, not for me.
Don't love it enough to fight for it.
Yeah, those rejections, the not for me, didn't really hurt at all at that point, because I was just like, great, it's not for you. And a lot of those were rejections on the query. The fulls responses came in, I would say, kind of like the second week. Like, it probably took like several days before I got any, and then they all kind of like came in, and I was getting so many rejections. And at this point, like, I hadn't gotten any other offers. I had maybe like 5 days left in my window, and I was feeling like, okay, only one offer, but that's okay, because I'm really excited about this offer, but like my ego wanted the second offer, So I sent nudges on like the Tuesday before my Friday deadline, and I expected to just get hit with like more rejections, but instead I got 2 more offers, and then eventually my 4th offer. So it all really happened like right at the end. It was like, I don't know, if I had to trace the emotional arc, it was like really high because I had all the requests come in, and then kind of got low because I had all the rejections come in, and then full rejections coming in, and then back up to being really high, and then like really stressed because I was like, how am I supposed to schedule all of these offer calls right before my window ends? I see people who get like 9 or 10 offers, and my first thought is like, can I see your calendar? Like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, I had a similar trajectory, and granted, like, it was December right before Christmas. But when I was sending my nudges, that's when I got all of my responses to, like, mostly, like, not even, I think I only ended up with, like, a couple of new requests, because I was towards the end of, like, my querying for this book, just because I front load everything, and I sent everything out. But I got the second offer, like, while I was still nudging, which was really cool, and I was like, this is great, like, we're just gonna get a ton of offers, and, like, I'm here for it. Or at least responses, because people want to close out before, Christmas. But actually, like, I got nothing for like 2 weeks. I think I remember telling you guys, like, is this normal? Should I nudge again? Like what do I do here?
It was weirdly quiet.
It was weird. And I think the lowest low for me was just the fact that I felt like I had to chase people before Christmas, because I knew people were going out of the office. Like, they had told me, like, I will be out of the office this date, so I'll get back to you. And, like, no, ma'am, you did not get back to me. Like, I'm assuming it's a rejection, but, like, did you forget? Like, what's going on here? And I think that was, like, stressful. And looking back, I wish I kind of hadn't done 3 weeks, because, like, I had Alex, and, like, I was super happy with Alex, so I really didn't feel like I needed more, but I did have some like really great agents that I was out with, and I wanted to give them the time and like whatever, right? But yeah, I struggled those weeks. Like, just, like, in true limbo. Not, like, querying limbo, not even, like, sub-limbo, like, truly, like, I don't know where my career is going limbo.
The quiet is very disheartening.
Yeah.
And because you had a long offer window, it was more quiet for longer, and
Yeah, it was weird. I think let's go into our final thoughts here. I think we've talked a lot about things that maybe other podcasts don't bring up, which I think is what I was trying to do. But when you're looking at a querying writer, they think that they've done their very best and they think this manuscript has a chance. What advice are you giving them going into the querying part or the call part or like anything from query to I've got it?
I would say really take a hard look at like what you think is your very best. Like make sure, you know? I'm sure that there's people out there who like, you know, when they say like this is my very best work, they mean it. They've like done all of the things. They've taken time between revisions. They've taken a hard look at their concept and how to make it stronger. I would say make sure that you're looking at not only like the checklist of like, you know, I finished the book and I've edited it, but like you're really like making sure that the concept is strong, that your pitch and your synopsis are like super airtight, that your first 50 pages are incredibly polished, and the rest of your manuscript is also incredibly polished, though maybe not quite to the same nth degree. So yeah, be perfect.
Be perfect.
Just kidding. But I mean, seriously, like when I went out with Banshee the first time, I was like, this is gonna go great. This is so much better than my first book. And like, it definitely was like my best work at the time, but I still had some more work to do to make it like the best work that I was capable of, not just like the best work that I had produced. You know what I mean? And then of course I had to do more edits after signing, but because I had done like those like extra deep revisions in Smooch Pit to like really bring out the things that had potential in the manuscript and not just say like this is good enough because this other part is good enough, I think that's what really like helped it be successful when I queried and made it so that I didn't have to do major revisions before going on submission.
I think that's a big signal for where the industry is right now. Like,
Yeah.
It's not good enough to be good enough. Like, you really do have to push.
it really should be good enough that you think it could be on a bookshelf right now.
And if anything, taking the extra like 3 or 4 months to do another revision and to like really get your ducks in a row before you querying is not going to slow you down. If anything, it may speed you up, because once you sign with an agent and you're dealing with editor timelines, everything is so slow. Like, depending on your agent's workload, it can take you quite a while to even like get your revisions, and then you have to, you know, like do it with them and perhaps do more revisions, and then like submission takes so long. So I think anything that you can do to make sure that your book is not just like good but really great will help you out, not just in getting agented but making the process go smoother.
My advice would be to set your expectations low, no matter how much you believe in your book. Assume you're not going to get an agent and start writing the next book, because even if you are like me and you do get agented on that book, it does not hurt you to have a book close to ready or more polished. The thing that is always going to benefit you in this industry is having the next thing and moving forward. So there is so much wait time in querying, and if you sit around twiddling your thumbs going, this is the book, this is the book, this is the book, and it's not the book, you have wasted a whole bunch of time. So I'm not saying don't take a break. Feel free to take a break when you start querying, all that sort of stuff. But you should start thinking about your next project. The biggest mistake I see people making is they keep going back to one manuscript and revising it over and over and over again. The three of us know people that have sent more than 200 queries for one book because they keep pulling it and revising it instead of just writing the next book. Write the next book. That's my advice.
I love it. I'm actually going to come at it from a different angle, although I agree with the sentiment. I'm going to say be delusional, but be delusional in the way that you are building habits to get you there. Like, you can't just be delusional and sit in your chair. You have to be delusional in doing the work while believing in yourself and while having that hope. So, you know, while you're waiting on Lane to pick up this manuscript and read it, you are working on the next thing Lane is going to like. Or the thing that Kira is finally going to be like, I think I will take that horror. Kira, you never responded to me, and I think it's fine, but
I think I think Janklo does the same thing as PS Literary, where they don't respond unless it's a request
yeah.
for a query, but they don't publicize it the same way that PS Literary
Which is
does,
probably
which is odd.
smart. I think it's okay to have your hope because, like, why not? If it's going to motivate you to do the thing.
Yes. I would say delusion plus action equals success.
Yes.
Like, be delusional, write delusionally, have confidence in yourself while querying. Like, you need to take the action to make sure that, like, you're putting forward the best version of yourself, but then or best version of your writing, but then once you've done that, like, you know, don't go into the query trenches like, hello, big grand agent, might you consider my humble proposition? Like, you should go in there like, I've got something you want. Hey, do you like money? Here's my book. Like,
yes.
Bring that energy forward. Don't be afraid to nudge people when the situation calls for it. Like, don't just be nudging for no reason. That's annoying. But, like, advocate for yourself. Be confident in the product that you're putting out. Because that's what it is at that stage.
Agents don't make money without authors.
Absolutely. And one more thing I just want to put out there, only because it's top of mind, because I took a call with someone who has an offer and isn't sure about it. And I just want to say, like, if you're not sure, you either need to find a way to be sure or you need to just decline that offer. Because starting an agent relationship, not trusting the process, is going to make everything 1,000 times harder.
Yeah, I will also say it is okay to get an offer, nudge the people that you're out with, and then maybe you don't get any other offers, but you just still decline that first offer. That is okay because you close that chapter. You can always go back to the agents who stepped aside due to time and say, hey, actually, I turned down that offer. Do you want to take a second look? Yeah, maybe it's like embarrassing, but it's just business. They understand how this works, and it's better to turn down an offer and to have like closed out that chapter with those agents and not be like roped into a business relationship with someone you don't really want to work with.
No agent is better than a bad agent.
Yeah, because here's the thing. If you have no agent, then your dream agent can scoop you up. And if you have a bad agent, then you're off the market.
And you're killing your book on submission.
All right. That's it for me.
All right. That was so concise.
Wow.
I did a good job.
Not 3 hours. Cool. Go us.
Slan.
So I think that brings us into publishing tea. This is a fun one. I think I talked to you guys about this a little bit already, but I just watched The Devil Wears Prada 2.
Ah.
Okay. Yes.
And, okay, it was really fun. I loved it. It was very, like, it spoke to me as a writer in a lot of ways, which I loved. And I also, like, we're going on a little tangent. I'll get to the tea soon, I promise. I, like, grew up watching this movie, and, like, it made me want to, like, be a magazine writer and have that kind of, like, shiny career. And I didn't end up being a magazine writer, but I feel like I had, like, a similar kind of career. And, like, it just spoke to, like, how you have this dream, and then you see, like, corporations get involved and, like, you know, taint it with, like, budget cuts and AI and all that stuff. So I loved it for that. But Andy, played by Anne Hathaway, the main character in the Devil Wears Prada series, gets a book deal in a way that will have many writers fuming because she does not have an agent. It's not mentioned. And, like, look, I understand why they do it this way from a storytelling perspective, but as someone trying to get traditionally published, it's like, this is not how this works. She has a friend who is, like, seems to be an acquiring editor at, like, a big 5 publisher. Like, they don't say that, but, like, her friend's an editor. Her friend calls her up and is like, hey, like, if you want to write a Miranda Priestley expose, my boss said, we can give you $50K. And if the proposal is really good, we can give you $100K.
That's a big jump.
That is a big jump. And I like how they're just like $50K, but if it's good, $100K, as if they would acquire something that wasn't good.
If it's not good, they wouldn't take it.
Right. Realistically, this would be like, hey, like, my boss is looking for something like this. If you get an agent and send us a proposal, we can take a look. And I know proposals are different in other ways, too, that I'm probably not sure of because I don't do nonfiction. But, so that happens. Then throughout the movie, she's like, actually, maybe I don't want to do this expose on Miranda Priestley because of character arcs. And then, so her friend calls her and is like, how are you coming along with the proposal? she's like, actually, I don't want to do it. And then the friend's like, what if I give you 300K? And it's like, this is not how anything works. So what are your thoughts?
That is not the amount of money that we make. That is not, I could see it potentially happening for nonfiction where if somebody is an expert in an area, they could get contacted about a book and they might start writing a proposal while they look for an agent, nudging with editor interest and all that sort of stuff. So it's skipping steps. Like you said, I understand it from a storytelling perspective, and I get not wanting to get too in the weeds with the world building. I've been there. I have a lot of knowledge that I don't put in the world building because it's not relevant. But I make sure that everything always matches it. I just don't necessarily give the details about how it works, and I would appreciate if they had followed the details of how it worked without necessarily giving those details to the audience. Because it's almost like what you talked about with, I'm not going to mention the novel, but a novel that was completely inaccurate in how they made bread. And if you're somebody who doesn't know how to make bread, it's not going to matter. But if you were somebody who knows, it takes you out completely.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's the same thing. If you're somebody who knows, it's going to take you out of the story completely.
So no, I've got a couple things. Number one, I've read nonfic proposals. They are very tricky because you have to have the knowledge and the voice that's going to like keep people reading, and that's like very hard to do with nonfic, right? Like you have to be just super engaging in a way that like fiction kind of allows that storytelling to like flow a little bit easier, because you're not really selling yourself as the author, whereas the author of a nonfic, like you also have to kind of sell yourself as the expert in the field. So I understand that a proposal would need to happen. I also understand that there are editors who are like, I want a book on this. Here are some agents that you should go to saying that I want this. And like kind of a matchmaking deal there. I understand that could happen. What I do not get is the romanticizing of a writer's life. Because it's very like, God, I want to make 100K on one book. Of course I do. But like, girl, who is Miranda Priestley? I cannot name one editor-in-chief of a magazine. Not one. No clue.
Okay, but like, okay, for context, it's like
Anna Wintour was the editor of Vogue.
Anna Wintour is like,
okay, I do know Anna
famous.
Wintour.
So like, this is, I think the advance amounts are like realistic, but what I think is
think it's realistic for 300K
for a book on an expose on Anna Wintour, which is the equivalent?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
I mean, okay, I'm not the publisher doing like profit and loss statements, but it's like,
it's so niche.
She's a big deal. And okay, in the movie, there has just been a scandal involving Miranda Priestley that is all over the news. So it's like if there was an expose on like Kim Kardashian or something like that, you know?
Yeah, I went next top model, so like I understood. That's what I was equating it to.
But I feel like the thing that's the most unrealistic, like I can forgive them skipping over the Asian and all that because it was already a 2-hour movie, so like cut out the middleman for storytelling. The thing I find unrealistic is like they're tossing these numbers around. She hasn't even like gotten like a contract. Like she hasn't signed a contract. What I think they should have done is had her sell the book. Like she does the proposal, she sells the book. They're like, you get 100K or whatever it is. She doesn't have to announce anything because that's how it works in publishing. It's secret until you announce it. And then they're like, oh, hey, like, you know, like this deadline's coming up, like how's it coming along? She's like, actually I want to back out. And then they're like, we have these financial stakes to hold over your head.
That would have been great stakes.
That's what they should have done. It would have done the exact same thing in terms of the plot of like, she agrees to write this book, then she doesn't want to, and it applies pressure without every aspiring author or like published author in the audience going like, what the hell?
Especially because this was a book. Like, this wasn't like an original movie. Like, this came from someone's book. So, like, someone had to...
I don't know if the sequel came from a book.
I don't think so. But just the fact that the original went through traditional publishing. Come on, guys.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's written by writers. They gotta know something about how these things work.
Well, and listen, I've literally only seen like the trailer, And I'm like, I'm seeing
Yeah.
BJ in there, who I love. I know that he writes.
Yep. There was so many celebrity cameos. It was a little bit ridiculous by the end.
I'm sure it was, and I know this is not the point of this, but like it seemed a little cash grabby.
Definitely. I mean, I had a great time, but I was like, oh, this is designed to just be like the movie that everyone's talking about because of just the absolute ridiculous amount of cameos. They had a Lady Gaga. It wasn't even barely a cameo. She had a whole musical number, and I love Lady Gaga.
She did a musical number?
Yes. I gasped when I saw her there, but like it just kind of completely felt shoehorned in so that they could just have like 5 minutes of Lady Gaga performing while there was like a runway show going on. Which, love Lady Gaga, but like that did not need to be in there for the plot.
Okay.
No.
So a couple of things that I want to relate this back to writing. Number one, we don't need more sequels. Like, pay a writer for original things that like bring stories into the world.
Yeah, we don't need a fourth Game of Thrones show.
Oh my god, yes.
And if you think about what's doing well in media, you have to think it's stuff that is more original, like what's been buzzy, what have people been talking about? Like Heated Rivalry was huge.
Project Hail
That
Mary.
was not. That was going to be my next example. It's been a lot of newer stuff that is actually making money and actually making people talk about it. So it's interesting that they're still trying to do the sequel game when I don't know if it's actually paying off. I don't go see sequels for things anymore. I don't go see the live action for Disney movies.
It's because it's a safer bet, and like
yeah,
the economy is not good right now, so they're like, we're gonna go
yes.
for the safe bets. Stuff like Heated Rivalry, they couldn't. I don't think they would have predicted it did as well. It would have done as well as it did.
Yeah.
No, naked man butts, pride in my country.
When they're looking for like original IP to produce or stuff that isn't, you know, reruns and sequels and spin-offs, they're taking a bet. And when sure, like when Heated Rivalry breaks out, instead of thinking like, okay, we need to invest in more original IP, they're gonna think
more hockey romance,
hockey butts now. And instead of looking for new things, they're just gonna look for more of like what's familiar, or like, can we do a Heated Rivalry spin-off? So
yeah,
it's
the same reason why we're getting so many self-pub to trad pub and so many fanfic adaptations, just with how they're playing acquisitions, because it's happening with books too.
Oh, absolutely. And even so, I'm going to go back to the talk with the CEO of Millen. He says that
we should link that.
We should link that below. It was so good, you guys. He was talking about advances and how they work and like how they choose who to give advances to. And I liked him because he was like, he really trusted his editors to make those decisions. He just signs the checks is basically how he put it. But he was talking about how they are sometimes not great at trend predicting, and we know this, but the things that always break out are never the things that are on trend. And I just don't know why we are not just like taking that evidence that we have clearly identified and being a little bit riskier if it's going to make us money. And I understand that like nostalgia makes money, especially with millennials. Like we love nostalgia, but we don't pay that much for nostalgia. Not in terms of, you know, books and movies and things.
I think the big thing is with the amount of books that do get published, those big swings are misses more often than they are hits. Yeah. Whereas they might make a middling amount of money with something that's on trend and a safe bet. They're not going to get, you know, a crazy breakout thing from that, but they're not going to completely lose all the money they've invested with a potential miss. So I think that's the logic, is if you have 100 middle of the roads, it's better than having 50 books put out, one of which hits and 49 of which lose.
Right.
To say.
Because once they find the thing that hits, it has like, it creates a trend. So Heated Rivalry hitting, that created a new wave of interest in hockey books, in sports romance in general. A Court of Thorns and Roses, that basically like ushered in the wave of romantasy. And like fae books were a part of it, but broadly it was the genre blend. So it's like it has the tail on it. So, like, when you have a hit, they're just looking to ride out that tail with more things that are similar to it. And the further away you get, the more it's, like, saturated and people don't care as much anymore.
Yeah.
And then they're just hoping that one of the other things they're putting out that's different becomes the next big hit. But yeah, it's probably not going to be something else that's riding the wave of the past breakout.
Yeah.
That goes back years. It's Twilight and paranormal romance. It's the Hunger
Totally.
Games and dystopian. Like, it's not a new trend at all,
Right.
but we're always going to chase, because you do see that with readers where people just want to read the same thing over and over again. And I find this is very, you see it a lot in self-pub marketing in particular, where they just list the tropes as like where a blurb would go, and people will just read the same tropes over and over because they want the same experience. So you do see that kind of marketing style work to a degree in some instances, but it is not necessarily
It
consistent.
doesn't make you the big money. It makes you safe money.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So frustrating. All right, what's going to be our next either micro trend or major trend then? Horror romance is going to be micro. I don't think it's going to be as big as people think.
Horror romance?
No.
I feel like I want it to be major, but
Well, I want it to be 100%. I want it to be major because that's what I want to read. But I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to be as big as people think.
Yeah. I think horror romance kind of just gets folded into gothic because gothic is, like, by definition, like, horror and romance in there. So I feel like horror romance is that, to me. When I think of horror romance, I think of, like, stuff like, I just read Butcher and Blackbird, where it's like serial killers, but they're like in love. So where it's like more on the romance, and then there's like a horror element, and then like gothic is like its own subgenre, but you kind of see them blobbing near each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're chasing genre buns right now because obviously romantasy did so well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a big thing that comes from that is fantasy was already such a large piece of the pie. And YA fantasy with elements of romance and stuff was a really big piece of the pie, specifically from female authors. And as the readers of that have aged, it's kind of naturally filtered into romantasy and romantasy sales in that kind of sphere. And I don't think you're going to get the same thing with another genre blend because it doesn't have that confluence of factors such as the aging audience, the natural progression out of YA fantasy, things like that.
I've said it before, but I do think sci-fi is going to have like a really big moment.
I hope it does.
People. I think I've been seeing more time travel premises lately.
Mm-hmm.
Project Hail Mary was obviously huge. I don't know. I just think there's going to be a really renewed interest in it.
I mean, I hope that sci-fi has a moment, selfishly, because like I think whatever the trend is, you see people flexing to fit the trend, but they don't necessarily fit. And I think, Ivy, you can speak to this specifically. And I know I have issues with people being like, "This is horror." Like, no, it's not. Like, it's not horror. Like,
this is gothic. No, it's not.
No, it's not. Like, it's just not.
You're trying to apply those trends to, or those labels to something that doesn't fit because you think that applying those labels is going to get you an agent or a book deal or what have you.
Yeah, so if I pick up a horror and it's not based on fear, like, I feel very ripped off. And that makes me it just gives me an unpleasant experience, and it makes me bitter as someone who is working really hard to follow and subvert some genre conventions while staying it with the promise of the premise. So, yeah.
Yeah, my biggest pet peeve is seeing books that are marketed as gothic and all they are is just like dark and atmospheric, or they're in an old house, and it's like that's very surface level gothic, but it's not what the genre is actually about.
I think some of the fault with this does lie with publishers too, at least for trad pub books, because how are they promoting the book? So like for me, my book is very firmly romantic fantasy. It is not romantasy. And if my book was to get marketed as romantasy, readers buy it expecting full romantasy, they are going to feel ripped off because that's not what the book is. And in that instance, it is an example of the marketing failing. So yeah, sure, there may be selling more copies of it, but the reviews are going to come in and be quite poor because the reader expectation is not matching with the reader experience.
And guess who that falls back on? You and not the publisher. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we think it's going to impact what people are saying about Devil Wears Prada 2 then? Like, what are we going in thinking, and then what are we actually getting?
I think a lot of people are already thinking on the cash grab train because that seems to be the case for a lot of these remakes, these sequels, all that sort of stuff. People just kind of assume that. I think people are probably going to curiosity watch. I don't think people are going to get mad about the literary
No.
sale angle the
Just
way that we
just
are.
us.
Just us and our listeners probably. But I don't think anyone was expecting like great things from it.
I mean, I
No.
will say it was really good. Like, I liked it a lot. And the reason I went to see it is because I was seeing such good reviews about it. Like, I think there's gonna be people who say it was cash grabby, but it had substance. It had a lot of substance. So it's like, that's how I feel about it, is like, I loved watching it. I had a great time. It was very indulgent. I think that's the thing about it. It's an indulgent movie. Like, it indulges in the part of me that loves like pop culture and fashion and media, because there were so many people in it that I recognized. It did kind of go a little too far to the point of being overindulgent in that, but it's like, nobody can say that it's shallow, I think. I mean, people
That's
will
good.
probably say it, but like, I think it has a lot of heart, and that is what keeps it from being like, oh, this is just another cash grab sequel. And it's actually like a good sequel.
Yeah, I think the reason I would want to see it is because I love the fashion, even though like girl doesn't have money or energy to do any of that. But like, I love the fashion, and I love any movie that's like very empowering for women. Like, Legally Blonde is super empowering to me. I actually watched Devil Wears Prada last night just because, Anna, you were talking about it. And
Yes.
I love it when she goes through the makeover and she starts to like allow herself to take ownership of things. And that feeling when I'm watching a movie like that is really the reason I go back to it. Mona Lisa's Smile. Oh, if you guys have not watched that, it gets a little weird in the romance department, but like, it's such a good movie.
I have not, but I am here for weird in the romance department.
It's just not a tangent I enjoyed as part of the movie.
You're not big on romance plot lines, though.
I'm not. I just think it took away from what the movie was, personally.
That's fair. All right. Any other thoughts on publishing tea?
I would like a $300 advance without even writing the book.
Oh my goodness.
Or the proposal.
Gracious.
Yeah. Or the proposal. Just
Just
call me up and give me money. If I say I'm not going to write it, give me more money. That'd be great. Come on, publishing.
Yep.
Let's make it happen.
All right.
Do we want to go over the weather in hell today?
Oh, the weather check. Well, I've just arrived down here, and it's feeling mighty toasty. I think I'm getting sunburned.
My stay in hell has been much longer of the two of us, and hell is quiet until it's not. And right now we are quiet, but I am manifesting that the quiet ends.
Yes.
Manifesting that you get to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Your stay ends.
Yeah.
Listen, your girl lives in Virginia and she loves some heat and humidity, so hell is being okay right now. We're doing the things that we can do in hell.
You know, debauchery.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Like getting flayed.
All the blood and torture.
Yeah, eating worms.
All that fun stuff.
Eating your own fingers. I've got lots of ideas that I won't share on the podcast, but you can read them in my book if I ever Yes. Yeah, when my vacation comes to a close, you can read all about the things that happen to you in Christian hell.
Hey. All right, so that is the end of episode 9. So join us next week. We do have a slight ghost in the machine next week. My mic is a little bit weird, but it's not like unlistenable.
Yeah, look at us predicting the future. Ooh, time travel. Sci-fi. Hey.
I know, we're magic. So we will be going back in time for episode 10. Make sure to tell us what you want us to cover in season 2. We have ideas. Zilla hyperfixated for a day, but we would love to cover what you want us to cover. So please go in our Instagram DMs, Instagram comments, Substack, wherever you want to contact us. Let us know what you want us to cover, and we would be happy to do that for you. When did we establish we were going to try to drop season 2? Sometime in the summer? Late summer?
Stay
well,
tuned.
It depends on
more.
Stay tuned.
It's not going to be a long break.
Yeah.
So just keep an eye. We will let you know. Keep an eye on our socials, and we will announce when it is coming. Thank you so much, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.